No. Well, speaking of Lionel Messi and teams that get humbled by tranked up Brad Guzan, we have MLS's heroes in Inter Miami, the first team to beat a European side in meaningful competition, rebounding after a mediocre performance against Al Hilal. They go on, they beat Porto, and they have a devastating draw against Palmeiras. And I think I could feel happy with their performance and moving on to the knockout, right? You can look and say, okay, they did MLS proud, no doubt. But you know that they left more to be desired, especially after that Palmeiras game, right? You're watching them, they're in control, they're beating up on Palmeiras, which is a game that it was going to be a good game, but you were worried about quality of their attack, Palmeiras' attack rather, versus the sketchiness of Miami's defense. And you're sitting here thinking, man, it's 2-0 with 10 minutes to go. This is huge. They're gonna top the group. And then two goals in the last 10 minutes, and they actually nearly lost the game altogether had it not been for Ustadi. What ends up happening is then they end up getting a round of 16 date with European champions PSG instead of Botafogo, which still would have been tough, but it would have been a much better and much more meaningful, a manageable match than PSG was. Unfortunately, you can't figure things out. Their back line sucks, and now they get absolutely humiliated by PSG, as many other teams were. Right? They were not the exception to PSG's dismantling of every team that they play. Have they conceded a goal yet? I don't know if they have.
They conceded one goal the entire
Okay.
tournament so far.
Yeah. Different gravy, these guys. But, it was disappointing because in their hands was a top of the group, another extra $1 million on top for the win, and a date with Botafogo, who they very well could have come up against and been more successful. Instead, they get the literal best team in the world by a significant margin, and they get bounced embarrassingly. $21 million in the bank later. I mean, they can't complain about that. But the way it ended hurt because they could have, in my opinion, because they could have controlled it and done something different. But happy to hear your thoughts.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, this is still a huge success for us. Like you had said, outside of Brazilian teams, they were the only non-European side to beat a European team in the group stages. Like that's huge. I mean, there's all these other continents playing, including other strong nations from South America, like Argentina, and an MLS side is the only other non-Brazilian team to have beaten the European side. And I understand that Porto is not at the level of a PSG, a Real Madrid, but I think you got to take your wins when you have them, and that's definitely a win for us. I think their tournament performance, while it could have been to even higher heights, as you talked about with like topping the group, I think we still have to take this as a win, and it was a good showing for teams in this league and just the league in general. So I'm glad Miami was able to do something positive because Seattle was kind of in a situation where it was going to be almost impossible, and LAFC did not live up to their expectations. So Miami was really the only ones that the last chance to give us a little bit of hope. And even though they got like walked off the field by PSG, I don't even know if I would necessarily call that an embarrassing game. PSG is walking everybody off the field right now. Like, I think a 4-0 loss is nothing to really be too upset over.
No, I'll have to disagree with you there. If you watch the game, that
No,
game
I
should
know they like
that game should have
statistically
been
they should have
eight.
lost by a lot more.
It should have been
Yeah.
eight, maybe 10. PSG literally just stopped playing at halftime. And that's what's disappointing is you go from okay, Seattle was the second best performing team against PSG in the entire tournament. Only Botafogo played better. And if Miami just holds on to their lead, they get Botafogo. They play a contested game against Botafogo. Let some other poor sap get beat up by PSG, and now the narrative is, yeah, look, we can stick with anybody, right? Except for maybe the European champions, but we'll never know. And now we do know, and we know how big that gap is. And what was disappointing is, as we spoke about a couple sections ago, where we're like, oh, we were worried because if Seattle got beat up, that was all the things we're going to talk about. Well, guess what? The only thing that people are talking about is look at what happens when you put Messi and friends up against actual competition. He gets his snot beat out and blah blah blah, blah. Right? Nobody's talking about Seattle being, a strong defensive group against them. Nobody's talking about their win against Porto. Nobody's talking about LAFC's defensive performance against Chelsea. Nobody's talking about any of it. It's just, oh look, Miami got beat down bad. Ha 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 ha. Right. So that's why it
Yeah,
hurts to
but
me. Yeah, it's great. It's great to have the move on, right? And no doubt, but as MLS teams and MLS supporters and MLS content creators, whatever, we always have the extra narrative, right? We just have to deal with the narrative of everybody else, which is disappointing and annoying. But it's that's what's frustrating to me. I know they usually you can't control those things, but they very well could have today or this tournament.
I really think that if anybody is really making the argument of like, oh, MLS is a joke because Miami got smacked around by PSG, I think that argument is completely out the window at this point because Real Madrid just got the exact same treatment by PSG. Like, absolutely walked off the field. It was 3-0 after 24 minutes. So it's literally like a very similar situation to Miami, where I would imagine PSG probably was able to take their foot off the gas after the 3-0 up in 24 minutes. So,
Yeah.
I think it's more of a conversation of how good this PSG team truly is, and less of a conversation of Miami is really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fine. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just my constant negativity, always looking out, thinking that it can be more improved. But we are on the outside looking in, so we can't really make those changes. But I do want to chat about kind of something we've been hinting at for a little bit, and